NASA and modern astronomy claim that the Earth is a massive sphere, tilting, wobbling and spinning at a mind-boggling 1,000 miles per hour around its axis. But wait, there's more. They also say our planet is flying in a 67,000 mile per hour orbit around the Sun. And if you think that's fast, the entire solar system is supposedly spiraling at 500,000 miles per hour around the Milky Way. Then, as a cherry on top, the whole galaxy itself is hurtling through the universe at a staggering 670 million miles per hour. Phew. All these mind-numbing speeds allegedly originate from a colossal Big Bang explosion 14 billion years ago. Now if you do the math, that's a whopping 670,568,000 miles per hour in multiple different directions. You'd think we'd be able to feel at least some of that insane motion, right? But here's the twist. Despite all these supposed cosmic rollercoaster rides, no one has ever seen, felt, heard, measured, or even proven any of these movements exist. Seriously. No experiments have detected any motion, and this brings us to something flat earthers find very intriguing. Polaris, the North Star. Modern science says Polaris is positioned somewhere between 323 and 434 light-years away. To put that into perspective, that's a distance of nearly 2 quadrillion miles. But here's the kicker. Astronomers can't even agree on its exact distance, with a mind-blowing range difference of over 666 trillion miles. Yes, that's a 666 in there. Coincidence or clue? You decide. Even if we accept these wildly distant stars as fact, there's something astronomers can't explain. How in the world does Polaris remain perfectly aligned above the North Pole, night after night? Think about it. Even with all this tilting, wobbling, rotating, and rocketing through space at unimaginable speeds, Polaris stays put. Like a faithful cosmic lighthouse, it never strays from its post, always pointing north. How does it manage to stay in perfect position while we're supposedly flying through space in multiple directions? Flat earthers argue that this simply wouldn't be possible if the Earth were a spinning, wobbling sphere. Instead, they suggest that the Earth is a flat, stationary plane, and that's why Polaris never budges. If this has you scratching your head and wanting to know more, there's a lot to uncover.
So I've been photographing the Orion Nebula and all kinds of other nebulae for the last 3 to 4 years now. And I photographed the Orion Nebula every single year. But this year I captured it with my new Sharp Star SCA 260 astrograph telescope. And this telescope is specifically designed just for astrophotography, especially faint objects like nebulae and galaxies. And we are told that the Orion Nebula is 1,344 light years away from Earth. And yet, we're able to capture this much detail in a single photograph from 1,300 light years away with an amateur telescope. Now, I don't know about you, but I find it difficult to believe that we could capture such detail in dust particles, okay? You have to believe we're looking at dust and gas particles from over 1,300 light years away. But I believe it's much, much closer than that. And so is everything else. In fact, I don't think we are looking at dust particles at all. Whatever this is, I know that God created it and it's spiritual. I mean, just look at it. It looks ghostly. I don't have all the answers. I don't know what it is. And you could photograph this again 20 or 100 years from now even, and not a single star will be out of place. It will look exactly the same as it does today. It's like looking at fine artwork on a stained glass window. And the window is the firmament, and the artist is the Most High God, creator of all things on earth and in heaven. And his name is Jesus, the Alpha and the Omega.
Ever wondered how time zones work on flat Earth? Here's how they make perfect sense on a flat Earth, and it's going to blow your mind. Time zones are something we use every single day, but have you ever stopped to think about how they actually work? The globe model claims the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, yet somehow, every time, zone stays perfectly aligned. How does that even make sense when you're supposedly wobbling on a tilted ball zooming around the sun at 67,000 miles per hour? And here's another odd thing. If the sun is 93 million miles away and enormous, why do we see sunlight coming down in distinct rays, like beams from a flashlight? Shouldn't it light up everything equally? These are the kinds of questions that lead us to a different, simpler explanation. The flat Earth model offers a straightforward answer. The sun isn't a gigantic ball millions of miles away. Instead, it's small, local, and acts like a spotlight. Imagine holding a flashlight over a table. The light only covers a specific area, right? That's how the sun works on a flat Earth. It moves in a circular path above the surface, lighting up different areas as it travels. Each hour, the sun's movement represents one time zone. It's a natural system, not dependent on imaginary tilts or spins, and it explains why we see sunlight rays coming through clouds at angles. They're close and directional, just like a street light. Here's another way to think about it. A sundial. Sundials work because the sun's position creates a shadow that moves predictably throughout the day. If the sun were millions of miles away and stationary relative to the Earth, how would a sundial work so precisely? And what about the seasons? On a flat Earth, the sun's circular path changes over the year, creating the solstices and equinoxes. In summer, the sun's path is tighter, closer to the center, and gives us longer days. In winter, the path is wider and farther away, resulting in shorter days. It's like the difference between spinning a torch close to your hand versus farther away. Simple, right? Even undersea cables between continents align with the flat Earth model. Why don't they show these routes on a globe? Because the direct flat paths don't match the curved lines they want us to believe in.
The people who were fighting, when they were fighting in these wars, they were fighting for these buildings. Like, these buildings have been around for such a long period of time, and different people would inhabit them or take them, and then the people around them would fight them for them. And it just blew my mind because I found these pictures of castles where they just have moats and all kinds of things around them. And now they don't have any of that. And I started thinking through each fight or war or whatever it was of these different people, then all of a sudden things kind of got broken down. But it really started to make me question everything. And then I found one book which kind of blew my mind, The Boy's Book of Airships. And they were explaining flight in 1783. But flight was not displayed until about 1901 with the World Fair. So it's made me start to realize that a lot of stuff goes back a lot farther. There's nothing new under the sun. And the more I would explore this topic and just kind of, just pick one, like flight or materials, whatever, nothing added up. And I realized that because these buildings, when you walk into them, I went into a couple cathedrals in New York City. When you walk into them, they touch your soul. It's very hard to explain, but you get goosebumps and you can feel this building. And I found footage from that building from 1899.